I think one of the biggest changes on Beyond the Gates has been watching Eva and Cat slowly move away from being defined by their rivalry. From the very beginning, these half-sisters seemed to clash over everything imaginable, whether it was their complicated relationship with their father Ted, the love triangle involving Tomas, or even something as trivial as whether mayonnaise belongs on French fries. They always found a reason to be at odds. Now, after Cat helped save Eva's life, it feels like they're standing at a genuine turning point. For the first time, they aren't looking at each other as enemies. Instead, there's a sense that both women are beginning to see each other as family, even if they aren't quite ready to admit it. To me, this feels like a much more natural direction than forcing them to remain locked in the same repetitive feud forever. One thing I appreciated is that the writers didn't suddenly erase all the years of resentment overnight. Their relationship is improving gradually, and that makes the emotional shift feel earned instead of rushed. A lot of viewers seem to feel the same way. Many believe it's refreshing to see the sisters working toward understanding each other rather than continuing to fight over Tomas, especially since that storyline appears to have run its course. Some fans have even joked that, if Beyond the Gates is still on the air decades from now, they could easily imagine an elderly Eva and Cat sitting together on a porch, laughing about all the chaos they caused back in 2025 and 2026. That said, not everyone is convinced this truce is the right move. Some viewers remain confused by Cat's reaction, arguing that it's difficult to believe she'd simply forgive the woman who once slept with the man she loved. From that perspective, the emotional wounds should run much deeper, and a reconciliation might feel too convenient if the show doesn't continue exploring the lingering resentment. I can understand that criticism. Realistically, betrayals like these don't disappear overnight. Even if both women want to move forward, trust isn't something that's rebuilt in a single dramatic moment. If the writers are aiming for authenticity, I think there should still be awkward moments, disagreements, and emotional setbacks along the way. I was also wondering whether the rivalry disappearing entirely might remove one of the show's strongest dynamics. Their constant clashes have fueled plenty of memorable scenes, and some fans worry the series could lose an important source of tension if they suddenly become best friends. Personally, I don't think that's a major concern. When I look at everything happening across Beyond the Gates, I think the show already has more than enough conflict to keep viewers invested. Between Haley's dangerous murder storyline, the explosive secrets surrounding Bill and Dany, Deanna's increasingly unpredictable schemes, and Nicole's complicated romantic life, there are multiple storylines creating drama at the same time. Eva and Cat don't necessarily have to stay enemies forever just to keep the series exciting. That doesn't mean their journey should become completely smooth. In fact, I think the most interesting version of this relationship is somewhere in the middle. They don't have to be bitter rivals, but they also don't have to become inseparable sisters overnight. Occasional disagreements, old wounds resurfacing, and moments where they struggle to trust each other could make their evolving bond even more compelling. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Beyond the Gates has an opportunity to tell a stronger, long-term story by letting Eva and Cat grow beyond endless rivalry, while still acknowledging that some scars never fully disappear. If the writers strike that balance, their relationship could become one of the most rewarding character arcs on the show. Beyond the Gates. Spoilers for Monday, July 20th, 2026. Ted and Shanice reach a major milestone. Cat leans on Nicole, and Naomi's health raises new concerns. I think Monday's episode of Beyond the Gates focuses less on shocking twists and more on the emotional consequences of recent decisions. Several relationships are being tested, while others seem to be moving in a much healthier direction. To me, this feels like an episode that's setting up bigger developments for the rest of the week. One of the biggest highlights is Ted and Shanice. After Ted finally admitted how deeply he feels, their relationship appears to be entering a completely new chapter. The two celebrate an important milestone together, although the show is keeping the exact details a secret for now. I was wondering whether this could be another major commitment that confirms they're ready to build a future together, but that's just my speculation. Whatever the milestone turns out to be, it clearly shows how much their relationship has grown after everything they've overcome. Their storyline stands out as one of the episode's most positive moments. Meanwhile, Cat turns to Nicole for guidance as she continues dealing with the aftermath of rejecting Tomas's marriage proposal. Even though she made the decision she believed was right, the emotional weight hasn't disappeared. She's also still uncomfortable with Tomas pushing the idea of living together, despite her refusal to marry him. Nicole once again proves why she's such an important source of support. She reassures Kat that she shouldn't feel guilty for making a choice that felt right for her, and encourages her to stay true to herself instead of giving in to pressure. I think these mother-daughter scenes could end up being some of the strongest emotional moments of the episode, because they focus on understanding rather than conflict. While Kat finds comfort with Nicole, Tomas is left trying to process another painful setback. He heads to Uptown, hoping to clear his mind, where he crosses paths with the new bartender, Grayson Perez. Feeling overwhelmed, Tomas opens up about everything that's been happening in his relationship. Grayson becomes an unexpected sounding board, simply listening as Tomas vents his frustrations and disappointment. Sometimes that's exactly what someone needs after a major emotional blow. I didn't realize this new character might step into such an important role so quickly. But if this conversation develops into a genuine friendship, it could become an interesting storyline to watch in the coming episodes. Elsewhere, Bill and Dany prove once again that their complicated history is far from over. The former couple finds themselves in another heated confrontation, with old wounds and recent mistakes continuing to fuel the tension. Dany is still dealing with the fallout from their one-night stand, and the aftermath of her confrontation with Haley only adds more pressure. Their emotions boil over as they exchange sharp words, but they also have to be careful because someone could easily overhear their conversation. I think this warning isn't there by accident. It may be hinting that another secret could be exposed if they're not careful, although we'll have to wait and see if that's where the story is headed. Another storyline that deserves close attention involves Naomi. Her health becomes a growing concern as Anita and Vernon receive an update about her condition. The information eventually reaches Bill, whose reaction reportedly catches Naomi completely off guard. That unexpected response immediately raises questions. I was wondering whether Bill knows something that others don't, or if his reaction simply reveals emotions Naomi wasn't expecting to see. Either way, it adds another layer of mystery to an already emotional storyline. As the week continues, June shares intriguing information with Naomi that could influence whatever decision comes next. While the details remain under wraps, it's clear that Naomi's health will continue shaping multiple storylines as those closest to her respond to the latest developments. Overall, I think Monday's episode serves as an emotional turning point rather than a high-action installment. Ted and Shanice celebrate a hopeful new beginning. Kat receives much-needed reassurance from Nicole. Tomas searches for someone who will simply listen. Bill and Dany continue their cycle of conflict, and Naomi's health becomes an increasingly important focus. Even if some answers are still being kept secret, the episode appears to be laying the groundwork for several significant developments that could unfold throughout the rest of the week. I think Tuesday's episode of Beyond the Gates is shaping up to be one of those chapters where emotional conversations matter just as much as the big dramatic moments. Instead of non-stop confrontations, it looks like several characters will be forced to face difficult truths, and some unexpected people may end up offering the best advice. One of the biggest surprises, at least to me, is Kyle becoming the person Eva needs to hear from the most. At first, I wondered if this would simply be another one of Eva's physical therapy sessions following her liver transplant. but I have a feeling their conversation could go far beyond her physical recovery. It seems like Kyle may encourage Eva to focus on emotional healing as well, especially now that the tension between her and Cat finally appears to be easing. If that's where the story is heading, Kyle could become the voice of reason at exactly the right moment. Meanwhile, Nicole is expected to spend some time catching up with Vanessa, and I imagine the conversation will naturally turn toward the men in Nicole's life. Kyle is almost certain to come up, and Carlton could also become part of the discussion. What really makes me curious, though, is whether Nicole will learn what's been happening with Ted. If news of Ted's heartfelt confession to Shanice has already spread around Garland Memorial, it may only be a matter of time before Nicole hears about it too. Whether she's shocked, disappointed, or simply concerned remains to be seen, but I don't think this revelation will leave her unaffected. Another storyline that stands out involves Naomi. After revealing that she inherited the BRCA gene variant, it only makes sense that she would eventually bring this life-changing news to her grandparents. This doesn't feel like a conversation she could avoid for long. I think Anita's role here could be especially important. Beyond sharing a family bond and a love of music with Naomi, Anita may become the calm, experienced voice that helps her think through an incredibly difficult decision. Naomi is clearly considering drastic preventive surgery to reduce her cancer risk, but Anita might encourage her to slow down and carefully weigh every option before making such a permanent choice. I'm also interested to see Vernon's perspective, because his support and guidance could help shape Naomi's next steps during this emotional journey. Away from Fairmont Crest, another relationship could finally begin to heal. Police Chief Elon has never been known for backing down or admitting when he's wrong, which is exactly why his decision to reach out to Isaiah feels so unexpected. To me, that suggests something significant has changed. Maybe Elon can't shake the memory of watching Isaiah suffer while Eva fought for her life. Or perhaps Darlene encouraged him to put his pride aside and make the first move. Either way, the real question isn't why Elon is extending the olive branch. It's whether Isaiah is willing to accept it. After everything that's happened between them, forgiveness may prove far more difficult than simply saying, "I'm sorry." Overall, I think this episode is less about shocking twists and more about healing, honesty, and second chances. Whether it's Eva finding emotional support, Nicole discovering uncomfortable truths, Naomi leaning on her family during a frightening health crisis, or Elon attempting to repair a damaged relationship, every storyline seems connected by one central theme. Sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones that can change everything. Naomi's journey has become one of the most emotional storylines on Beyond the Gates. After revealing the truth to Dany, Jacob, her sister, and her cousins, she now faces another incredibly difficult conversation. This time, it's Anita and Vernon who will learn the truth about her BRCA diagnosis. And I think this may be one of the hardest family moments yet. Naomi has spent the past several days correcting a painful misunderstanding. She originally let everyone believe that her BRCA test came back negative, but the reality was far more devastating. She tested positive. Now she's making sure the people she loves know the truth, even though every conversation forces her to relive that difficult moment. What has stood out to me is how supportive her family has been, despite feeling hurt. Their disappointment isn't about the diagnosis itself. It's that Naomi chose to carry such a heavy burden on her own instead of allowing them to stand beside her from the beginning. That emotional conflict has made each revelation feel authentic and deeply personal. Naomi hasn't stopped at sharing her diagnosis. She's also been honest about the life-changing decisions she's considering to reduce her cancer risk. Those options include a preventative double mastectomy and possibly having her ovaries and fallopian tubes removed. These are enormous decisions, and the writers are showing just how much emotional weight they carry for both Naomi and her family. I think Anita's reaction could be especially heartbreaking. As the family matriarch, she's already struggled with the knowledge that the BRCA gene was passed down through the family line. Seeing one of her granddaughters now facing the same reality may leave Anita overwhelmed with guilt, even though none of this is her fault. Vernon will likely become a source of strength, helping hold the family together as they process the news. Elsewhere, Nicole's complicated love life continues to evolve. She recently admitted that she's genuinely enjoying this new chapter of dating two different men, embracing a side of herself that feels exciting and refreshing. However, her conversation with Vanessa suggests that things may soon become more complicated. At the same time, Nicole receives surprising news involving Ted, which could shift the direction of one or both of her relationships. I was wondering whether these developments will force Nicole to make a choice sooner than she expected. Meanwhile, Eva continues making encouraging progress after her liver transplant. Her loved ones remain protective, making sure she doesn't push herself too hard during recovery. Although that caution occasionally frustrates her, it's also a reminder of just how much she's loved. Kyle once played a key role in helping Eva regain her strength after surgery, and now their paths cross again. According to the latest spoilers, he offers Eva some much-needed advice. While the exact details remain under wraps, I think this conversation could be less about her physical recovery and more about helping her move forward emotionally after everything she's endured. Another relationship that remains on shaky ground is the one between Elon and Isaiah. Elon has been making a genuine effort to rebuild their bond, showing up for his son during Eva's hospitalization and trying to prove that he's committed to being a better father. Despite those efforts, Isaiah continues to carry resentment, making every attempt at reconciliation feel like an uphill battle. Now Elon, with Darlene's support, hopes to welcome Isaiah back to the Hawthorne family Sunday dinners. To me, this represents far more than sharing a meal. It's about restoring trust, rebuilding family traditions, and finding a path toward healing. Whether Isaiah is finally ready to accept that invitation remains one of the biggest emotional questions heading into the episode. Overall, Tuesday's episode appears to focus heavily on family, forgiveness, and the difficult conversations that can either divide loved ones or bring them closer together. Naomi's honesty, Nicole's romantic crossroads, Eva's continued recovery, and Elon's determination to reconnect with his son all point toward an episode driven by emotional character development rather than dramatic twists. Whether these conversations strengthen these relationships or create new challenges is something we'll have to see unfold. I think the week of July 20th to 24th is shaping up to be one of those weeks where Beyond the Gates quietly brings back several familiar faces, and some of these returns could end up having a much bigger impact than they first appear. One of the biggest returns is Heather Armstrong, with Ashley Jones getting more screen time during the July 24th episode. From what I can tell, Heather isn't coming back for a simple family reunion. She immediately surprises her brother, Joey Armstrong, by saying she has some loose ends to tie up. That line feels loaded. I was wondering if she's referring to the mysterious plasma ring storyline, because it certainly sounds like unfinished business is pulling her back. Whether she's returning to the DMV to continue her schemes or has an entirely different agenda, her arrival doesn't seem accidental. Another familiar face making a comeback is Dr. Kyle Rollins, played by Greg Vaughn. He shares scenes with Eva Thomas on July 21st, offering her some advice. At first glance, it could be connected to Eva's recovery, but I have a feeling there may be more going on beneath the surface. Dr. Kyle has often been a voice of reason, so it'll be interesting to see whether his guidance is strictly medical or if he's about to become involved in a larger storyline. It's also nice to see Laura Peterson, Nicole Dupree's assistant, returning after being absent for quite some time. Destiny Love reprises the role during the July 23rd episode, and Laura is set to receive a special gift from Anita Dupree. I don't think the writers would include that detail unless it carries some significance. Sometimes a seemingly thoughtful gesture can open the door to a much deeper story. Meanwhile, Mona Wilson, played by Karen Kendrick, remains someone people clearly shouldn't underestimate. During the week, Haley Hamilton actually warns Randy Parker to stay far away from Mona. To me, that's a huge red flag. Whenever characters start warning others to avoid someone, it usually means trouble isn't far behind. Whether Mona is planning something or simply finds herself at the center of more chaos, she continues to be someone worth watching. Also appearing on July 23rd is June, portrayed by Jasmine Burke, who shares important information with Naomi Hawthorne. Depending on what that intel involves, it could easily influence several ongoing storylines and create new complications for Naomi. Outside the story itself, Jasmine Burke has another reason to celebrate. She recently earned her first Daytime Emmy nomination, receiving recognition in the Outstanding Guest Performance category for her portrayal of June. I think that's a well-deserved milestone and a testament to the impact she's made, despite appearing in a guest role. Overall, I think this week's episodes are less about massive twists and more about positioning key characters for what's coming next. With Heather returning to settle unfinished business, Dr. Kyle stepping back into Eva's life, Laura receiving an intriguing gift, Mona continuing to stir concern, and June delivering potentially important information, there are plenty of story threads that could become much bigger in the weeks ahead. Some of these moments may seem small at first, but they have the potential to reshape several ongoing storylines in Fairmont Crest. Beyond the Gates spoilers, July 20th to 24th. Dany's secret, Kat's jealousy, and Haley's deadly plan. The latest Beyond the Gates promo for the week of July 20th to 24th sets up a week packed with jealousy, family secrets, emotional confrontations, and what looks like a potentially deadly revenge plot. From Kat feeling betrayed by the people closest to her, to Haley making a shocking promise about Bill's future, the drama is escalating quickly. Kat feels like she's losing everyone. The promo opens at the country club with Kat Richardson venting to Chelsea Hamilton. From Kat's perspective, it feels like Eva Thomas has slowly taken over every important relationship in her life. Kat complains that Eva first won over her father, then her boyfriend, and now even Chelsea seems to be on Eva's side. To Kat, it probably feels like she's being pushed out by someone she never trusted in the first place. The preview also hints that Kat becomes upset over a live stream featuring Chelsea and Eva together. I think this storyline is less about the live stream itself and more about Kat's growing fear that she's losing the people who matter most. Whether Chelsea understands why Kat feels threatened or believes she's overreacting could determine whether their friendship survives this latest conflict. Dany and Bill face their complicated history. Another major moment features Dany Dupree and Bill Hamilton sharing an emotional confrontation at Dany's home. Bill tells Dany that if he can keep their last encounter a secret, just imagine what he could do with future ones. Dany, clearly emotional, shuts him down, insisting there will never be another time between them. Bill isn't convinced, responding with, "Never say never." The exchange suggests that Bill isn't ready to let go, while Dany seems determined to put their one-night stand behind her before it destroys even more lives. Is Dany's secret finally coming out? The promo then shifts to Nicole confronting her sister. Nicole tells Dany that the secret is already out, delivering the line with a serious expression that immediately raises questions. Moments later, Dany is sitting with her parents, Anita and Vernon Dupree, when Anita pointedly asks whether there's something Danielle wants to tell them. The preview clearly wants viewers to wonder what secret everyone is talking about. One possibility is that the conversation revolves around Naomi Hawthorne's BRCA gene results, since that storyline has been building. However, I was wondering if the promo is intentionally trying to mislead viewers. The timing makes it equally possible that Nicole and Anita have discovered Dany's secret night with Bill instead. Soap operas love using clever editing to point audiences in one direction before revealing something completely different, so either outcome remains possible. Haley makes a chilling promise. The biggest shock comes in the closing moments of the preview. Haley Hamilton meets with Randy Parker and quietly reveals a terrifying plan. She says she's determined that the next time Bill experiences symptoms, he'll end up in the mortuary instead of the hospital. That's an incredibly dark statement, and it immediately raises the stakes for the week ahead. The final scene shows Bill alone in his office, slumped over and struggling to breathe as he wonders what's happening to him. Whether Haley's threat is connected to Bill's sudden medical crisis remains to be seen. The promo certainly wants viewers to believe there's a connection, but soap opera previews often blur the truth to maximize suspense. I may be right or wrong, but there's also a chance Bill's collapse has another cause entirely, with Haley's comments serving as a dramatic misdirection. Final thoughts. The week of July 20th to 24th looks packed with emotional fallout and dangerous twists. Kat's jealousy could strain one of her closest friendships. Dany may finally have to face the consequences of her secret with Bill. And Haley's chilling vow suggests Bill's life could be in serious danger. Whether these storylines unfold exactly as the promo suggests, or take an unexpected turn, it looks like Beyond the Gates is setting up one of its most intense weeks yet. Beyond the Gates spoilers, July 20th to 24th, 2026. Bill and Dany can't escape their past. I think one of the most interesting things happening in Beyond the Gates right now is that no matter how hard Bill and Dany try to move on, life keeps pulling them back into each other's orbit. Their history is simply too complicated to disappear overnight, and this week's episodes seem ready to prove exactly that. After surviving the terrifying tornado and getting trapped together in an elevator last month, Bill and Dany were forced to confront emotions they had spent years trying to bury. Even though both have built new lives and entered new relationships, it never really felt like they found genuine closure. This week, those unresolved feelings appear to boil over as the former spouses clash once again. I was wondering whether all the tension from their recent encounters has finally reached a breaking point, or if this argument is actually hiding emotions neither of them wants to admit are still there. Things become even more intriguing later in the week when Dany receives a mysterious gift that immediately alarms Andre. If the gift comes from Bill, Andre's concern would certainly make sense. From his perspective, Bill has never completely let go of Dany, and Dany herself hasn't fully erased the memories of the life they once shared. Whether the gift is romantic, sentimental, or simply misunderstood, it has the potential to create even more tension in Dany's current marriage. Ted and Shanice reach a turning point. Another relationship facing a major crossroads is Ted and Shanice's. Ever since their New Year's Eve kiss, the two have been slowly building something meaningful. Their connection has developed steadily rather than dramatically, making this upcoming milestone feel especially significant. I think relationships on daytime soaps usually reach a point where they either deepen or completely fall apart. And this week seems to present exactly that choice. It will be interesting to see whether Ted and Shanice decide to fully commit to each other or realize they want different futures. Later, Shanice has an honest conversation with Nicole about Ted. To me, this is a smart move. Nobody understands Ted's strengths and weaknesses better than his former wife. Of course, Nicole's perspective could naturally be influenced by their past, but Shanice has consistently shown herself to be thoughtful and level-headed. She'll likely listen carefully while forming her own conclusions, rather than accepting everything at face value. I'm curious whether anything Nicole reveals will strengthen Shanice's confidence in Ted, or make her question where the relationship is headed. Nicole faces new developments. Nicole also has plenty happening in her own story. She updates Vanessa about her love life before unexpectedly learning surprising news involving her ex. Exactly what that revelation is remains under wraps, but it sounds like another emotional twist could be waiting for her. Meanwhile, Heather returns to Fairmont Crest and tells Joey she's back to tie up loose ends. Characters rarely return without shaking things up, so her arrival could have consequences that stretch well beyond Joey's storyline. Naomi's health becomes a major concern. Another emotional storyline centers on Naomi. Anita and Vernon finally receive an update regarding Naomi's health, suggesting answers may be on the way after weeks of uncertainty. Later in the week, Bill reacts to Naomi's news in a way that leaves her stunned, while Vernon attempts to guide a stubborn Bill with some much-needed advice. At the same time, June shares intriguing information with Naomi, hinting that even more developments could be unfolding behind the scenes. Other stories to watch. Several additional storylines unfold throughout the week. Grayson lends a sympathetic ear to Tomas during a difficult moment, while Kyle offers Eva advice when she needs guidance the most. Elon continues trying to repair his relationship with Isaiah, but by Friday he delivers news to Jacob that Jacob clearly doesn't want to hear. Haley remains busy throughout the week, first telling Randy she helped him regarding Lynette, before later warning him to stay away from Mona. Smitty asks Jacob for a favor. Anita refuses one of Dany's requests, and she also surprises Laura with a present. Finally, Chelsea's livestream featuring Eva leaves Kat frustrated, creating another source of conflict before the week comes to an end. Episode breakdown. Monday, July 20th. Kat and Nicole discuss their relationships. Ted and Shanice reach a major milestone. Bill and Dany clash. Grayson supports Tomas during a difficult time. Tuesday, July 21st. Anita and Vernon learn about Naomi's health. Keel advises Eva. Elon tries to reconcile with Isaiah. Nicole updates Vanessa on her love life before learning surprising news about her ex. Wednesday, July 22nd. Anita refuses Dany's request. Bill's reaction to Naomi's news surprises her. Shanice and Nicole have an honest conversation about Ted. Haley tells Randy she helped him regarding Lynette. Deanna meets an attractive stranger in need. Thursday, July 23rd. Dany receives a gift that worries Andre. Smitty asks Jacob for a favor. Haley warns Randy about Mona. June shares intriguing information with Naomi. Vernon advises Bill. Anita gives Laura a present. Friday, July 24th. Heather tells Joey she's returned to settle unfinished business. Elon delivers difficult news to Jacob. Chelsea's live stream with Eva leaves Kat upset. Overall, I think the biggest story this week revolves around Bill and Dany. Even after everything they've been through, their connection refuses to fade away. Whether that's leading toward reconciliation or simply another painful chapter remains to be seen. But their relationship continues to feel like one of the emotional centers of Beyond the Gates. At the same time, Ted and Shanice face an important decision about their future. Naomi's health story continues to evolve, and several returning characters and surprising revelations promise to keep Fairmont Crest anything but quiet. I think no matter how hard Dany tries to move on from Bill, Beyond the Gates keeps reminding us that some relationships never truly stay in the past. Months after their divorce, and despite both of them building lives with other people, the emotional pull between them is still impossible to ignore. Their passionate elevator encounter during the tornado wasn't just a moment of weakness. It proved that the connection between them has never completely disappeared. The July 17th episode made it feel like they were standing on the edge of repeating the same mistake, and the latest preview only reinforces that idea. Dany appears determined to keep her distance, but Bill clearly has something else in mind. To me, it doesn't look like he's thinking about protecting his marriage to Haley at all. Instead, he seems willing to risk everything for another chance with Dany. When Bill tells her, "If I can keep our last little escapade a secret, imagine what I can do with future ones," it's obvious he's already looking ahead instead of regretting what happened. I may be wrong, but that line suggests he's far more interested in continuing the affair than ending it, even if the consequences could destroy multiple lives. Of course, keeping Bill away may not even be Dany's biggest problem anymore. The preview hints that the secret she's been desperately trying to protect is already slipping out of her control. Nicole catches Dany completely off guard by revealing that she already knows what happened. That alone raises the stakes, but things become even more uncomfortable when Anita sits down with Vernon beside her and asks whether there's something Dany wants to tell them. The moment immediately feels serious, especially when Anita addresses her daughter as Danielle. In soap operas, using someone's full name usually signals that a difficult conversation is about to begin, and I don't think that's a coincidence here. Now the question is whether Dany finally tells the truth or digs herself into an even deeper hole with another lie. Either choice seems destined to create more heartbreak, not just for her, but for everyone around her. At the same time, Bill has no idea that an even greater danger is closing in. Ironically, his biggest threat may not be his affair with Dany, but the woman waiting for him at home. Haley doesn't appear focused on catching Bill cheating. Instead, she's still committed to the sinister plan that's been unfolding for months. She's been secretly poisoning him, and the latest preview makes it clear she has no intention of stopping. Her chilling conversation with Randy says everything. When she declares that she wants Bill's next accessory to be not a tie but rather a toe tag, it's hard to interpret that any other way. To me, this confirms that murder, not revenge or divorce, is still her ultimate goal. I was wondering if Bill is becoming so consumed by his feelings for Dany that he doesn't realize the real danger is sitting under his own roof. He seems completely distracted by the possibility of rekindling their romance, while Haley quietly moves forward with a deadly plan. If that's the direction the story is heading, Bill could be blindsided before he ever sees the betrayal coming. Beyond Bill and Dany's complicated relationship, the preview also hints that Fairmont Crest isn't slowing down anytime soon. Eva once again finds a way to clash with her reluctant sibling Cat, setting the stage for more family conflict and emotional confrontations in the episodes ahead. Overall, I think the writers are stacking multiple storylines on top of one another in a way that could lead to a major payoff. Dany's secret appears ready to explode. Bill is risking everything for a relationship he can't seem to leave behind, and Haley's deadly scheme continues to grow more dangerous with every episode. Whether these stories collide all at once or unfold one by one, it feels like the coming episodes could change the lives of several characters in dramatic fashion. Beyond the Gates, my thoughts on the biggest stories before Heather's return. I think Beyond the Gates is setting up one of its most emotional and suspenseful weeks yet. Looking back at everything that happened, almost every storyline feels like it's moving toward a major turning point. Some characters are trying to move forward, while others are desperately trying to keep their secrets buried. One storyline that really stood out to me was Bill's health scare. At first, everyone feared he had suffered a stroke, but that turned out not to be the case. Even so, the doctors clearly believed something was wrong, and they wanted to keep him under observation for more testing. Bill, being Bill, refused to slow down. He insisted he was fine and couldn't wait to get back to work. What makes this situation interesting is that I don't think his health problems are over. Haley certainly doesn't seem worried about helping him recover. In fact, she appears much more interested in what his declining health could mean for her future. Her conversations with Randy made me wonder if there's a much darker plan unfolding behind the scenes. If I'm right, Bill's condition may not be as natural as everyone believes. Then there's Dany, who continues to have one of the most emotionally complicated stories on the show. She tried convincing herself that she didn't need to rush to Bill's bedside, telling everyone that Haley should be the one taking care of him. But deep down, it was obvious she couldn't stay away forever.